Hello everyone. This next fly I'm tying is the jointed rabbit strip shrimp for saltwater game fish in clear water conditions. The fly is tied in two parts with a monofilament loop in between the parts to give it more action. The hook is a Mustad Saltwater Streamer hook size 6 for the first part of the fly. The thread I'm using is the Semperfli Nano Silk 12/0 white. Start the thread behind the eye and trim the tag. Wrap a base along the straight portion of the hook and bring it back to the start. Next, I'm adding the white Faux Bucktail synthetic fibers with the tips even for the antenna. The length of the fibers is the same length as the straight portion of the hook. Trim the excess and secure along the threaded area of the hook and bring it back to the start. Prepare the 1/4-inch olive scud back by trimming the end into a point and secure along the threaded area from the top of the hook and build up the thread. Next, split the thread, wax both sides, and add the Beige Ice Dub loosely. Add the dubbing twister, double over the thread and spin to secure the dubbing. Brush out the dubbing and switch over to a hackle plier. Wrap along the threaded part about 1/3 of the way back, pulling the fibers back with your fingers. Move the remaining dubbing off to the side. Brush out the wrapped dubbing. Fold the scud back over the dubbing and secure along the threaded area to the start. Then fold it back and secure. Next, take 2 prepared monofilament eyes and measure. The eyes extend past the dubbing so it's even with the bend of the hook. Flatten the portion that's being secured and trim the tag even with the start of the antenna. Repeat the same step with the second eye. Secure the eyes on each side of the hook, left and right, and add thin head cement to the wrap. Wrap the remaining dubbing edge to edge, secure by the thread. Trim the excess and brush out the dubbing. Next, prepare the white with red tips Sili legs. Trim the attached ends, hold the segment in the middle, and trim the ends evenly. Secure the one segment behind the dubbing so both ends are even. Next, prepare the same dubbing the same way. Brush it out and wrap behind the legs, pulling the fibers back with your fingers. Wrap the dubbing to the eye, secure and trim the excess and build up the thread. Tie in the next segment of rubber legs left and right of the eye and trim the excess. Fold the scud back over the dubbing and legs, secure, trim, build up the thread, whip finish, trim the thread, and add thin head cement. Cut the bare part of the hook with side cutters, and the first part of the fly is complete. For the second part of the fly, I'm using a Mustad Saltwater Streamer hook size 2. 85-pound test monofilament for the joint between the two sections, and the same thread. Start the thread and trim the tag. Wrap a base along the straight portion of the hook and bring the thread back and stop just before the eye. Prepare a section of the monofilament about 6 to 8 inches long and flatten with smooth pliers. Secure the mono on the far side of the hook first, leaving a long tag of the threaded area. Thread the first part of the fly through the mono and make a loop. Secure it on the opposite side even with the other and add thin head cement. Fold each tag end one at a time and secure to the loop. Thread each tag end through the loop and secure on opposite sides of the hook. Trim even with the rest of the mono. Build up the thread, whip finish, trim, and add thin head cement. Next, prepare the olive scud back, trim the end into a point and secure on top of the hook with edge-to-edge wraps to the loop and whip finish. Split the thread, add the Beige Ice Dub loosely, add the dubbing twister, double over the thread and spin to secure the dubbing. Brush out the dubbing and switch over to a hackle plier and wrap the dubbing forward edge to edge, pulling the fibers back with your fingers. Move the remaining dubbing off to the side. Add the third set of rubber legs in front of the dubbing on each side, left and right, slightly longer than the previous legs. Wrap the remaining dubbing in front of the rubber legs, secure by the thread, brush out the dubbing, whip finish, and trim. Next, I'm switching over to the Semperfli Nano Silk Black 6/0 to secure the rabbit strip. Take a section of dyed yellow and red with black tips, rabbit strip about 4 inches long. Trim the hide in the center along the full length of the strip to thin it out. Make sure to keep the fibers to one side of the hide before you trim. Next, split the thread, wax, and place the rabbit strip in between. Adjust the fibers so the thread is close to the hide as possible. Trim away the hide, spread the fibers where it's more concentrated, and spin the bobbin to lock in the fibers. Brush out the fibers thoroughly and move it aside. Start the Semperfli 12/0 thread again and trim the tag. Add the silver wire for the rib. Double it, have the ends even, and secure from underneath the hook. Once secure, move it aside with the rabbit strip for now. Next, take 2 sand-colored grizzly marabou feathers, line up the tips evenly, and remove the waste portion at the bottom of the stem. Place both feathers with the tips even on top of the hook behind the eye and secure it to the beginning of the monofilament. Trim the excess and build up the thread. Next, add the dubbing the same way as before. Have enough dubbing to cover the remaining threaded area and brush it out. Wrap the dubbing edge to edge towards the eye, pulling the fibers back with your fingers. Secure by the thread, trim the excess, brush out the dubbing, and twist the silver wire using a shepherd's hook tool. Whip finish and trim the thread. Wrap the rabbit strip over the dubbing, pulling the fibers back, secure, and build up the thread. Brush out the fibers and pick out the dubbing between the fur. Fold the scud back over the body firmly, secure, trim the excess, and build up the thread. Finally, wrap the silver wire over the dubbing, evenly spaced and angled. Secure behind the tail, trim the excess, and build up the thread. Whip finish, trim, and add the head cement. Pick and brush out the dubbing and the trapped rabbit strip fibers. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe and hit the like button to see more of them.